When I wrote this book, I wrote it with a few audiences in mind. My primary audience was my own students. And my students who I taught at Hartford Seminary in Connecticut, who were Christian and Muslim. And so I knew I really wanted to make the book to be beneficial to them, first and foremost. And because I taught this course, I was always able to get feedback over the years, so that by the time I came out with it, I'd even tried parts of it in the classroom, so I knew what would be beneficial or not. There were a few people who I had in my mind. I always thought, okay, if they read this book, I want to make sure they'd be happy with it. You know, they included my advisors back at the University of Chicago, who I knew would be very, very attentive to all the academic work. I wanted to make sure that an ordinary Muslim would recognize the information. They wouldn't say, you know, what kind of Islam is this person coming up with? I don't recognize what's in here. There may be new information, but I didn't want to come out with something that was some kind of new view of Islam. So for me, I wasn't as concerned about a market as primarily looking at who I wanted this book to be beneficial to. And I wrote it under contract with an academic publisher who was interested in the market, primarily theology departments and then colleges and universities. What surprised us, I surprised the publisher as well, is how many people picked this up as a textbook on Islam generally, not just on the Qur'an, but on Islam. So that last year there were over 90 different colleges and universities where this book was being taught as a textbook on Islam, just in the United States. And then the publishers these days have very little money for marketing, unless you're a famous novelist, you know, or writing some, you know, you're a political figure, writing your memoirs, your biography. Most publishing houses don't put money into marketing anymore. They rely on you to share the information with your social networks, with your contacts, and really, in a way, do your own promotion and marketing. I'm very busy, and so I don't really have a lot of time for that, and I'm not particularly ambitious. So it's just by the grace and the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this, you know, information was shared and it was picked up so quickly. One of the really good things that happened this year, alhamdulillah, is that there's a major organization that's funded by the United States government called the National Endowment for the Humanities. This is like a waqf. Endowment is a waqf. National Endowment for the Humanities gives a great deal of money to fund artists, musicians, writers, cultural projects in the United States. They created a project this year called Bridging Cultures. And the theme was to try to educate Americans more about Islam and Muslims. That the National Endowment for Humanities identified ignorance about Islam and Muslims as a really big problem in the United States. So they decided to put together a library of books, a collection of books about Islam and Muslims, and make them available to 1,000 libraries across the United States. Alhamdulillah, they included my book in that collection, and they sent it to 1,000 different libraries that applied, and these could be libraries in small towns in the southern United States or anywhere. They were able to get my book for free. And so this really, to me, is just such a great opportunity for ordinary Americans who are many people are just ignorant, but who have an honest interest in learning something about their Muslim neighbor, to be able to access the book from their public library and maybe, inshallah, learn a little bit more. So, I think with anything that if you you know, if you do it inshallah with ihsan and with ikhlas, that you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up these opportunities, and I really feel that I've been blessed with that in this case.